10 things true Muslims never talk about. 1. Personal faith and doubts. Faith is the cornerstone of a Muslim's life, guiding their actions, decisions, and worldview. For many, faith is a deeply personal journey, marked by moments of profound connection with the divine, as well as periods of introspection and doubt. Discussing these personal struggles with faith is often seen as a private matter, kept within the bounds of personal reflection or shared only with trusted confidants. Faith in Islam is not just a belief system, but a way of life that encompasses every aspect of a believer's existence. The Shahada, the declaration of faith, is the foundation upon which a Muslim's life is built. This declaration asserts the oneness of God and the prophethood of Muhammad. For a devout Muslim, this is not a mere statement, but a profound commitment that shapes their identity and actions. However, like any deeply held belief, faith is subject to the complexities of human experience. Life's challenges, be they personal, social, or spiritual, can sometimes lead to moments of doubt or questioning. These moments are natural and part of the human experience. The Quran itself acknowledges the struggles believers face, offering solace and guidance through various verses. For instance, in Surah Al-Baqarah 2:286, it is stated that Allah does not burden a soul beyond what it can bear, suggesting an understanding of human limitations and struggles. Despite this acknowledgement, discussing doubts openly can be stigmatized. Doubt is often perceived as a sign of weak faith or a lack of trust in God's plan. In many Muslim communities, expressing doubt can be met with concern, misunderstanding, or even judgment. This can lead to a culture of silence where individuals feel isolated in their struggles, believing they must navigate their spiritual challenges alone. This silence is compounded by the communal nature of Islamic worship. Muslims pray together in mosques, fast together during Ramadan, and celebrate together during Eid. The community aspect is crucial for mutual support and spiritual growth. However, it also means that personal struggles with faith are often kept private to maintain social harmony and avoid disrupting the collective sense of devotion. For many Muslims, the silence surrounding their personal struggles with faith is a way of maintaining their spiritual integrity. By keeping these matters private, they can engage in sincere self-reflection and seek guidance from trusted religious figures or close friends. This approach allows them to work through their doubts without the fear of judgment or misunderstanding. There are also traditional practices within Islam that encourage this introspective approach. For example, the practice of tasawwuf, or Sufism, emphasizes the inner, mystical dimension of Islam. Sufis seek a direct personal experience of God through prayer, meditation, and reflection. This inner journey is often kept private, shared only within the close-knit circles of a Sufi order, emphasizing the personal nature of faith. Religious scholars play a crucial role in helping individuals navigate their faith journeys. Scholars provide interpretations of the Quran and Hadith, sayings of the Prophet, that can offer comfort and clarity during times of doubt. By engaging with scholarly works, individuals can find answers to their questions and reassurance in the shared experiences of other believers. In recent years, there has been a growing movement within the Muslim world to address mental health and personal struggles more openly. Organizations and online platforms are emerging to provide support and create safe spaces for Muslims to discuss their doubts and fears. These initiatives are helping to break down the stigma associated with personal faith struggles, encouraging a more compassionate and understanding approach. The journey of faith is deeply personal and unique to each individual. For true Muslims, moments of doubt are natural parts of their spiritual growth. While these struggles are often kept private, they are an essential aspect of a believer's relationship with God. By acknowledging and understanding the reasons behind this silence, we can foster a more empathetic and supportive community that embraces the complexities of faith. 2. Interfaith marriages. Interfaith marriages, while not uncommon in today's globalized world, are particularly sensitive within Muslim communities. Islam provides clear guidelines regarding marriage, emphasizing the importance of shared religious beliefs. However, the reality of human relationships often transcends these guidelines, leading to complex familial and cultural dynamics. Islamic teachings emphasize the importance of marrying within the faith to ensure a harmonious and spiritually aligned household. The Quran, in Surah Al-Baqarah 2.221, advises Muslims not to marry idolaters until they believe, highlighting the importance of shared faith in fostering a conducive environment for practicing Islam. Additionally, Muslim men are permitted to marry people of the book, Christian and Jewish women, while Muslim women are generally expected to marry Muslim men. This guideline is rooted in the belief that a Muslim man can ensure that his children are raised in the Islamic faith, whereas it might be more challenging for a Muslim woman married to a non-Muslim man. In many Muslim-majority societies, marriage is not just a union between two individuals, but a merging of families. The expectations and approval of extended family members are often crucial in the decision-making process. Interfaith marriages can be seen as challenging these cultural norms, leading to potential familial discord. Parents and elders, who play a significant role in arranging marriages, often emphasize the importance of maintaining cultural and religious continuity. They might fear that an interfaith marriage could dilute religious practices and cultural traditions, leading to a loss of identity for future generations. This concern is particularly strong in diaspora communities, where maintaining cultural heritage becomes even more significant. For individuals in interfaith relationships, navigating their identity and sense of belonging can be challenging. They may face pressure from both sides, the need to honor their faith and the desire to respect their partner's beliefs. This dual allegiance can lead to internal conflict and feelings of isolation. Children from interfaith marriages also face unique challenges. Parents must make decisions about religious upbringing, which can be a source of tension. While some families adopt a dual faith approach, others might choose one faith over the other, which can lead to a sense of division or confusion for the children involved. The reaction of the Muslim community to interfaith marriages can vary significantly. In some communities, there is a degree of acceptance and support, especially if the non-Muslim partner is respectful of Islamic practices and willing to learn about the faith. In other communities, interfaith marriages might be met with disapproval or exclusion, creating an environment of alienation for the couple. Support networks and organizations have emerged to provide guidance and assistance to interfaith couples. These groups offer resources for navigating religious differences, raising children in a multi-faith household, and fostering mutual respect and understanding. By providing a safe space for discussion, these organizations help couples maintain their relationship while honoring their individual faiths. In some countries, interfaith marriages can have legal implications. For example, in certain Muslim-majority countries, the legal system might impose restrictions on interfaith marriages or not recognize them at all. This can affect inheritance rights, custody of children, and other legal matters, adding another layer of complexity to the relationship. Social implications are also significant. Interfaith couples might face prejudice or discrimination from their broader community, impacting their social interactions and acceptance. This social pressure can strain the relationship and affect the couple's mental and emotional well-being. Hearing personal stories from interfaith couples can provide valuable insights into the realities of these relationships. Many couples navigate their differences with grace and find ways to integrate their faiths harmoniously. These stories highlight the importance of communication, mutual respect, and a shared commitment to making the relationship work. For instance, some couples might celebrate both Islamic and non-Islamic holidays, creating new family traditions that honor both faiths. Others might engage in interfaith dialogue, seeking to understand each other's beliefs deeply and finding common ground in shared values such as compassion, honesty, and family. Interfaith marriages are a testament to the complexity of human relationships and the interplay between faith, culture, and love. While they present unique challenges, they also offer opportunities for growth, understanding, and bridging cultural divides. By acknowledging the sensitivities and providing support, we can create a more inclusive environment that respects individual choices while honoring religious traditions. 3. Mental health. Mental health is a critical aspect of overall well-being, yet it remains a sensitive and often stigmatized topic within many Muslim communities. Cultural, religious, and social factors contribute to the hesitation in openly discussing mental health issues. Mental health issues are universal, affecting individuals regardless of their cultural or religious background. However, in many Muslim communities, there is a reluctance to openly discuss these issues due to a combination of stigma, misunderstanding, and traditional views. mental health problems are often seen as a sign of weak faith or a lack of trust in God's plan. This perception can lead to feelings of shame and isolation for those struggling with mental health issues. In Islam, there is a strong emphasis on maintaining a healthy mind and body. The Quran and Hadith, sayings of the Prophet Muhammad, provide numerous references to the importance of mental and emotional well-being. For instance, the Quran acknowledges the human experience of distress and provides solace through verses of comfort and reassurance. Surah Al-Baqarah 2:286 states, "Allah does not burden a soul beyond that it can bear," highlighting the understanding that humans will face trials and challenges, but are equipped to handle them. Despite these teachings, the cultural context in which Islam is practiced can influence attitudes towards mental health. In many Muslim-majority countries, mental health issues are often misunderstood and associated with negative stereotypes. There may be a belief that mental health problems are caused by supernatural forces, such as jinn, spirits, or that they result from moral or spiritual failings. These misconceptions can prevent individuals from seeking professional help and instead turn to spiritual or traditional healers. The role of family and community is central in many Muslim societies. While this can provide a strong support system, it can also lead to pressure to conform to social norms and hide any perceived weaknesses. Mental health issues can be seen as bringing shame to the family, leading to a reluctance to acknowledge and address them openly. This cultural stigma can prevent individuals from seeking the help they need, exacerbating their condition and leading to a cycle of silence and suffering. Religious leaders and scholars can play a pivotal role in shaping attitudes towards mental health within Muslim communities. Historically, some scholars have emphasized the spiritual dimension of mental health, encouraging individuals to turn to prayer, fasting, and other religious practices as a means of coping with mental distress. While these practices can provide comfort and a sense of connection to God, they may not be sufficient to address more severe mental health issues, which require professional medical intervention. In recent years, there has been a growing movement within the Muslim world to address mental health more openly and reduce the associated stigma. Organizations and initiatives have emerged to provide education, support, and resources to those struggling with mental health issues. These efforts aim to bridge the gap between traditional religious practices and modern psychological treatments, promoting a holistic approach to mental well-being. One such initiative is the development of culturally and religiously sensitive mental health services. These services are designed to respect and incorporate Islamic beliefs and practices, making them more accessible and acceptable to Muslim clients. Mental health professionals who are knowledgeable about Islamic teachings can provide counseling that aligns with the client's faith, fostering a more supportive and understanding therapeutic environment. Community-based programs and support groups are also playing a crucial role in breaking down the barriers to discussing mental health. By creating safe spaces for individuals to share their experiences and seek help without fear of judgment, these programs are helping to normalize conversations about mental health within Muslim communities. Education and awareness campaigns, often led by religious leaders and community influencers, are working to dispel myths and misconceptions about mental health, emphasizing that seeking help is a sign of strength and self-care. The integration of mental health education into religious and community settings is another promising development. Workshops and seminars held in mosques and community centers can provide valuable information about mental health, stress management, and coping strategies. By framing these issues within an Islamic context, these programs can resonate more deeply with participants and encourage them to seek help when needed. Furthermore, the use of social media and online platforms has opened new avenues for raising awareness and providing support. Online counseling services, mental health blogs, and social media campaigns are reaching a wider audience, particularly among younger Muslims who may feel more comfortable seeking help in a digital space. These platforms also offer anonymity, which can reduce the fear of stigma and encourage more individuals to reach out for support. In conclusion, while mental health remains a sensitive and often stigmatized topic within Muslim communities, there are significant efforts underway to address these issues and promote a more open and supportive environment. By combining religious teachings with modern psychological practices, and by leveraging community-based initiatives and digital platforms, the barriers to discussing and addressing mental health can be gradually dismantled. This holistic approach not only respects the cultural and religious context of Muslim individuals, but also ensures that they receive the comprehensive care and support they need for their mental well-being. 4. LGBTQ+ issues. LGBTQ+ issues are particularly sensitive within Muslim communities due to religious and cultural beliefs. The topic often elicits strong reactions and is surrounded by significant controversy. Islam, like many other major world religions, has specific teachings regarding sexuality and gender. Traditional Islamic teachings uphold heterosexual marriage between a man and a woman as the ideal, and often view same-sex relationships as incompatible with Islamic law. This perspective is rooted in interpretations of the Quran and Hadith, which emphasize procreation and the traditional family structure. For example, the Quranic story of the people of Lut, is frequently cited as a condemnation of homosexual acts. The cultural context in which Islam is practiced further complicates the acceptance of LGBTQ+ individuals. In many Muslim-majority countries, cultural norms and values are closely intertwined with religious teachings. Homosexuality is often viewed not only as a religious transgression, but also as a violation of cultural and societal norms. This can lead to severe social stigma, discrimination, and even legal repercussions for LGBTQ+ individuals. In some countries, homosexuality is criminalized and can result in harsh penalties, including imprisonment or even death. For LGBTQ+ Muslims, navigating their identity can be an incredibly challenging and isolating experience. They often face a profound internal conflict between their sexual orientation or gender identity and their faith. The fear of rejection, discrimination, and violence can lead many to hide their true selves, living in constant fear of being discovered. This internal struggle can take a significant toll on their mental health, leading to feelings of depression, anxiety, and worthlessness. The silence surrounding LGBTQ+ issues in Muslim communities is partly due to the fear of social ostracism. Families and individuals may avoid discussing these topics to protect their social standing and avoid bringing shame upon themselves. This culture of silence perpetuates ignorance and misunderstanding, making it difficult for LGBTQ+ Muslims to find acceptance and support within their communities. Despite these challenges, there are emerging efforts within the Muslim world to address LGBTQ+ issues with greater compassion and understanding. Some Muslim scholars and activists are advocating for a more inclusive interpretation of Islamic teachings, emphasizing the principles of mercy, compassion, and justice that are central to the faith. They argue that all individuals, regardless of their sexual orientation or gender identity, deserve to be treated with dignity and respect. There are also support groups and organizations specifically dedicated to LGBTQ+ Muslims. These groups provide safe spaces for individuals to share their experiences, seek support, and connect with others who understand their struggles. By fostering a sense of community and belonging, these organizations help LGBTQ+ Muslims navigate their identity and faith in a supportive environment. Online platforms and social media have also become crucial tools for LGBTQ+ Muslims seeking support and solidarity. Through blogs, forums, and social media groups, they can find information, resources, and peer support without fear of judgment or persecution. These platforms offer a sense of anonymity and security, making it easier for individuals to express their true selves and seek guidance. Education and awareness initiatives are also essential in challenging the stigma and discrimination faced by LGBTQ+ Muslims. By promoting dialogue and understanding within Muslim communities, these initiatives aim to break down misconceptions and foster a more inclusive environment. Workshops, seminars, and educational campaigns can help to raise awareness about LGBTQ+ issues and promote acceptance and empathy. One notable example is the work of LGBTQ+ Muslim activists who are using their voices to advocate for change. These individuals are sharing their personal stories and experiences to challenge stereotypes and promote understanding. Their bravery and resilience are paving the way for greater acceptance and support for LGBTQ+ Muslims. In conclusion, LGBTQ+ issues remain a highly sensitive and controversial topic within Muslim communities. The religious and cultural context creates significant challenges for LGBTQ+ Muslims, who often face discrimination, rejection, and isolation. However, there are promising efforts underway to address these issues with greater compassion and understanding. By promoting inclusive interpretations of Islamic teachings, providing support and safe spaces, leveraging online platforms, and raising awareness, we can work towards a more accepting and supportive environment for LGBTQ+ Muslims. This holistic approach not only respects the cultural and religious context, but also ensures that all individuals, regardless of their sexual orientation or gender identity, are treated with dignity and respect. 5. Sectarian differences. Islam is a diverse religion with a rich tapestry of beliefs and practices. However, this diversity also includes significant sectarian differences, most notably between Sunni and Shia Muslims. While these differences add to the complexity and depth of Islamic traditions, they also lead to tensions and conflicts. The split between Sunni and Shia Islam originated from a political dispute over the rightful successor to the Prophet Muhammad. After the Prophet's death in 632 CE, a group of his followers believed that his cousin and son-in-law, Ali ibn Abi Talib, should be the next leader, or caliph. This group eventually became known as Shia Muslims. Another group, which later became the Sunni majority, supported the election of Abu Bakr, a close companion of the Prophet, as the first caliph. This initial political disagreement evolved over centuries into deeper theological and jurisprudential differences. Sunni Islam, representing the majority of Muslims worldwide, follows a system of jurisprudence based on 4 major schools of thought: Hanafi, Maliki, Shafi'i, and Hanbali. These schools differ in their interpretations of Islamic law, sharia, but share core beliefs and practices. Sunnis emphasize the collective wisdom of the community, ummah, and the importance of consensus, ijma, in religious matters. Shia Islam, on the other hand, places significant emphasis on the leadership of the imams, whom they believe are divinely appointed descendants of the Prophet Muhammad through his daughter Fatima and Ali. Shia Muslims believe that the imams possess special spiritual and temporal authority, which provides a direct link to divine guidance. The largest Shia sect is the Twelvers, who believe in a line of 12 imams, the last of whom is in occultation and will return as the Mahdi, guided one. Despite these theological differences, Sunnis and Shias share many fundamental aspects of the Islamic faith, including the belief in one God, Allah, the Quran as the holy book, and the practices of prayer, fasting, almsgiving, and pilgrimage. However, the historical and political context has often exacerbated their differences, leading to periods of intense conflict and violence. The discussion of sectarian differences is often avoided within Muslim communities for several reasons. Firstly, such discussions can quickly become divisive and lead to social discord. In regions where Sunni and Shia populations coexist, openly addressing these differences can escalate tensions and undermine communal harmony. The desire to maintain peace and unity often outweighs the need for open dialogue. Secondly, many Muslims feel that focusing on sectarian differences detracts from the broader unity of the Ummah. The Quran and the teachings of the Prophet emphasize the importance of unity and brotherhood among Muslims. Highlighting sectarian divisions can be seen as contrary to these teachings and as a distraction from the shared goals and values of the Islamic faith. Additionally, political factors play a significant role in the avoidance of sectarian discussions. In some Muslim-majority countries, governments exploit sectarian differences to maintain power or to marginalize certain groups. This manipulation can create a climate of fear and suspicion, discouraging open dialogue about sectarian issues. In other cases, governments may suppress discussions to prevent unrest and maintain social order. Despite these challenges, there are ongoing efforts to bridge the gap between Sunni and Shia Muslims. Interfaith and intrafaith initiatives aim to promote understanding, tolerance, and respect for diversity within the Islamic community. Educational programs that teach the historical and theological backgrounds of both sects can foster mutual respect and reduce misconceptions. Religious scholars and leaders from both Sunni and Shia traditions are increasingly engaging in dialogue to find common ground and promote peaceful coexistence. These efforts often emphasize the shared beliefs and values that unite all Muslims, such as the oneness of God, the importance of justice, and the commitment to charity and community service. Moreover, grassroots movements are emerging within Muslim communities to encourage unity and cooperation. These movements often focus on social issues that affect all Muslims, such as poverty, education, and healthcare, rather than on sectarian differences. By working together on common goals, Muslims can build stronger, more cohesive communities. In conclusion, sectarian differences within Islam are a complex and sensitive issue. The historical, theological, and political factors that contribute to these differences make open discussions challenging. However, by emphasizing the shared values and beliefs that unite all Muslims, and by promoting dialogue and education, it is possible to foster greater understanding and unity within the Islamic community. Recognizing and respecting the diversity within Islam can strengthen the Ummah and contribute to a more peaceful and just world. 6. Cultural versus religious practices. Islam is a global religion practiced by over 1 billion people from diverse cultural backgrounds. This diversity leads to a rich array of cultural expressions of faith, but it also creates challenges in distinguishing between what is cultural and what is strictly religious. Islamic teachings provide a comprehensive framework for living, covering aspects of worship, morality, and social conduct. These teachings are derived from the Quran, the Hadith, sayings and actions of the Prophet Muhammad, and centuries of scholarly interpretation and jurisprudence. However, as Islam spread from its origins in the Arabian Peninsula to different parts of the world, it encountered diverse cultures and traditions. This interaction led to the incorporation of various cultural practices into the everyday lives of Muslims. For instance, the celebration of weddings, funerals, and other life events often involves a blend of religious rituals and local customs. In some cultures, elaborate ceremonies and specific traditions have developed around these events, which are not prescribed in Islamic teachings, but have become an integral part of how Muslims in those regions practice their faith. Similarly, dietary habits, clothing styles, and social etiquette can vary widely among Muslim communities, reflecting a combination of religious guidelines and cultural influences. Distinguishing between cultural and religious practices can be challenging because they are often deeply intertwined. Many Muslims may not see a clear distinction between the two, viewing their cultural practices as an expression of their faith. This perception can lead to the assumption that certain cultural practices are religiously mandated, when in fact they are not explicitly required by Islamic teachings. One reason why this distinction is sensitive is that cultural practices are often closely linked to a community's identity and heritage. Questioning or challenging these practices can be perceived as an attack on the community's identity and values. This sensitivity can make it difficult to address practices that may be harmful or contrary to Islamic principles. For example, certain cultural traditions related to gender roles, marriage, or family dynamics may perpetuate inequality or injustice, but efforts to change these practices can be met with resistance. Another reason for the sensitivity is the fear of losing cultural heritage. In the context of globalization and modernization, many Muslim communities are concerned about the erosion of their traditional customs and values. This fear can lead to a stronger emphasis on preserving cultural practices, even when they may conflict with broader Islamic teachings. This dynamic is particularly evident in diaspora communities, where maintaining cultural identity becomes a crucial aspect of community cohesion and resistance to assimilation. The confusion between cultural and religious practices can also impact the way Islam is perceived by non-Muslims. Cultural practices that are specific to certain regions may be mistaken for universal Islamic practices, leading to stereotypes and misconceptions. For example, practices related to women's dress, such as the wearing of the hijab or other forms of modest clothing, can vary significantly across different Muslim cultures. These variations are often not understood by those outside the community, leading to a simplistic and sometimes inaccurate portrayal of Islamic norms. Efforts to clarify the distinction between cultural and religious practices are important for fostering a more accurate understanding of Islam, both within and outside the Muslim community. Educational initiatives that provide context and explanation for various practices can help Muslims appreciate the diversity within their faith and understand the difference between cultural heritage and religious obligations. Religious scholars and leaders play a crucial role in this process by providing guidance on what is essential in Islamic practice and what is cultural adaptation. By emphasizing the core principles of Islam, such as justice, compassion, and community, they can help navigate the complex relationship between culture and religion. This approach can also encourage Muslims to critically evaluate cultural practices and align them more closely with Islamic values. Intercultural dialogue within the Muslim community is another important tool for addressing these issues. By sharing experiences and perspectives, Muslims from different cultural backgrounds can learn from each other and gain a deeper appreciation of the diversity within their faith. This dialogue can also highlight commonalities and foster a sense of unity and solidarity. In conclusion, the interplay between cultural and religious practices in Islam is a complex and sensitive issue. While cultural diversity enriches the Muslim experience, it can also create challenges in distinguishing between what is religiously mandated and what is culturally specific. By promoting education, dialogue, and a focus on core Islamic principles, it is possible to navigate these challenges and foster a more nuanced and accurate understanding of the relationship between culture and religion in Islam. This approach not only strengthens the Muslim community, but also contributes to a more informed and respectful engagement with the wider world. 7. Women's rights and roles. The role of women in Islam is a subject of significant debate and controversy, both within Muslim communities and in the broader global discourse. Islamic teachings provide clear guidelines on the rights and responsibilities of women, yet cultural practices and interpretations of these teachings can vary widely, leading to differing views on women's roles. Islamic teachings emphasize the spiritual equality of men and women. The Quran states that men and women are created from a single soul and are equally responsible for their actions. Quran 4:1. Women are granted rights and responsibilities in various aspects of life, including marriage, education, and property ownership. The Prophet Muhammad's teachings and actions also highlight the importance of treating women with respect and dignity. For example, he emphasized the significance of kindness and fairness towards women and condemned practices that harmed or oppressed them. Despite these teachings, the reality of women's rights and roles in Muslim-majority societies can be quite different. Cultural practices and societal norms often influence how Islamic principles are interpreted and implemented. In many cases, cultural traditions can overshadow religious teachings, leading to practices that restrict women's rights and opportunities. One area where this tension is evident is in the realm of education. The Quran encourages the pursuit of knowledge for all believers, regardless of gender. The Prophet Muhammad also emphasized the importance of education for both men and women. However, in some Muslim-majority countries, cultural attitudes and economic factors can limit women's access to education. This disparity is not reflective of Islamic teachings, but rather the result of historical and social dynamics that prioritize male education over female education. Similarly, women's participation in the workforce varies significantly across the Muslim world. Islamic law permits women to work and engage in economic activities, and many women throughout history have been successful entrepreneurs, scholars, and professionals. However, cultural norms and societal expectations can restrict women's employment opportunities and their ability to participate fully in public life. In some conservative communities, women may face pressure to prioritize domestic responsibilities over professional aspirations, limiting their economic independence and career growth. Marriage and family life are other areas where women's rights can be influenced by cultural practices. Islamic law grants women the right to choose their spouse, to receive a marriage contract, mahar, and to seek divorce under certain conditions. However, in practice, women may face significant pressure to conform to family expectations regarding marriage. Arranged marriages, although not inherently contrary to Islamic principles, can sometimes undermine a woman's right to choose her partner freely. Additionally, societal stigma around divorce can make it difficult for women to leave unhappy or abusive marriages, despite the provisions for divorce in Islamic law. Inheritance laws in Islam also aim to ensure fairness and financial security for women. The Quran outlines specific shares of inheritance for male and female relatives, which, in many cases, provide women with a guaranteed portion of their family's estate. However, cultural practices and patriarchal structures can sometimes lead to women being deprived of their rightful inheritance. Social pressure and traditional customs may discourage women from claiming their inheritance, leaving them financially vulnerable. The cultural context in which Islam is practiced plays a significant role in shaping perceptions of women's rights and roles. In some regions, Traditional customs and patriarchal norms are deeply entrenched, influencing how religious teachings are interpreted and applied. These cultural influences can result in practices that restrict women's freedoms and opportunities, even when they contradict Islamic principles. For example, practices such as female genital mutilation, FGM, and honor killings are often justified on cultural grounds, despite having no basis in Islamic law. Discussions about women's rights in Islam can be contentious for several reasons. Firstly, there is a strong desire within Muslim communities to protect and preserve cultural identity. Efforts to challenge or change cultural practices can be perceived as an attack on cultural heritage and traditional values. This resistance to change can make it difficult to address practices that harm women or restrict their rights. Secondly, the global political context can influence discussions about women's rights in Islam. Western narratives about Islam and women's rights often portray Muslim women as oppressed and in need of liberation. These narratives can be perceived as condescending and imperialistic, leading to defensive reactions within Muslim communities. Efforts to promote women's rights can be viewed with suspicion, as they are seen as part of a broader agenda to impose Western values on Muslim societies. Thirdly, there is a diversity of interpretations and opinions within the Muslim world regarding women's rights and roles. Islamic jurisprudence, fiqh, is not monolithic, and scholars from different schools of thought and cultural backgrounds may have varying perspectives on issues related to women. This diversity can make it challenging to reach a consensus on what constitutes women's rights in Islam. Despite these challenges, there are significant efforts within the Muslim world to promote women's rights and address gender inequalities. Women scholars, activists, and leaders are working to reinterpret Islamic teachings in ways that affirm women's rights and challenge patriarchal norms. These efforts often emphasize the original spirit of justice and equality in Islamic teachings, seeking to align contemporary practices with these principles. Educational initiatives are also playing a crucial role in empowering women and promoting gender equality. By providing women with access to education and opportunities for professional development, these initiatives are helping to break down barriers and expand women's roles in society. Additionally, legal reforms in some Muslim-majority countries are working to protect women's rights and address issues such as domestic violence, child marriage, and discrimination in the workplace. In conclusion, the role of women in Islam is a complex and multifaceted issue, influenced by religious teachings, cultural practices, and societal norms. While Islamic teachings provide a framework for gender equality and women's rights, cultural influences can sometimes lead to practices that restrict women's freedoms and opportunities. By promoting education, reinterpretation of religious teachings, and legal reforms, it is possible to address these challenges and create a more equitable and just society for Muslim women. This approach not only aligns with the core principles of Islam, but also respects the diversity and richness of Muslim cultures. 8. Apostasy. Apostasy, the act of renouncing one's faith, is a deeply sensitive and controversial issue within Islam. The topic of apostasy touches on fundamental questions of belief, identity, and religious freedom. Islamic teachings hold that faith in Allah and adherence to Islam are paramount. The Quran and Hadith emphasize the importance of maintaining one's belief and warn against turning away from the faith. For instance, the Quran states, "Whoever disbelieves in Allah after his belief has certainly strayed from the soundness of the way." Quran 16:106. Similarly, Hadith literature contains severe admonitions for those who abandon Islam. These scriptural sources form the basis of traditional Islamic views on apostasy. Historically, apostasy was seen as a grave offense in Islamic societies. The early Muslim community faced numerous challenges, including threats from external enemies and internal dissent. Apostasy was perceived not only as a religious transgression, but also as a potential act of treason that could undermine the unity and security of the Muslim community. Consequently, classical Islamic jurisprudence, fiqh, prescribed severe penalties for apostasy, including capital punishment. These historical contexts have influenced contemporary attitudes towards apostasy in many Muslim-majority countries. In some nations, apostasy is still considered a criminal offense punishable by law. Legal frameworks and societal norms often reflect the traditional views that apostasy is a serious crime. leading to severe consequences for those who renounce Islam. This can include social ostracism, loss of civil rights, imprisonment, and, in extreme cases, execution. The issue of apostasy is further complicated by the interplay between religious and national identity. In many Muslim-majority countries, Islam is deeply intertwined with cultural and national identity. Renouncing Islam can be seen as rejecting one's cultural heritage and national loyalty. This perspective can intensify the social and familial repercussions of apostasy, making it a highly sensitive and private matter. The fear of persecution and social ostracism leads many individuals who have doubts about their faith or who choose to leave Islam to remain silent about their beliefs. Discussing apostasy openly can lead to severe backlash, not only from the broader community but also from family members and friends. The potential for conflict and division within families and communities contributes to the culture of silence surrounding apostasy. Moreover, apostasy is often perceived through a lens of moral and spiritual failure. Those who leave Islam may be viewed as having succumbed to sinful temptations or as having been influenced by negative external factors. This perception can lead to efforts to rehabilitate apostates through religious counseling or social pressure, further complicating the individual's experience and contributing to their isolation. Despite these challenges, there are growing voices within the Muslim world advocating for a more nuanced and compassionate approach to apostasy. Some contemporary Islamic scholars and thinkers argue that the severe penalties for apostasy prescribed in classical jurisprudence are not applicable in the modern context. They emphasize the Quranic principle of no compulsion in religion, Quran 2:256, and advocate for religious freedom and the right to personal belief. These scholars argue that faith should be a matter of personal conviction, and that individuals should have the freedom to explore and choose their beliefs without fear of persecution. They also highlight the importance of addressing the underlying reasons why individuals may choose to leave Islam, such as intellectual doubts, spiritual crises, or negative experiences within the Muslim community. Efforts to address apostasy with greater compassion and understanding often involve creating safe spaces for open dialogue and exploration of faith. This can include interfaith and intrafaith discussions, support groups, and counseling services that respect individuals' autonomy and provide a non-judgmental environment for discussing doubts and questions about faith. Additionally, some Muslim-majority countries are undergoing legal and social reforms to protect religious freedom and reduce the penalties associated with apostasy. These reforms are often part of broader efforts to promote human rights and align national laws with international standards. By reducing the legal and social consequences of apostasy, these reforms aim to foster a more inclusive and tolerant society. The role of the global Muslim diaspora in shaping discussions about apostasy is also significant. Muslims living in Western countries, where freedom of religion is a protected right, often engage in more open and critical discussions about faith and belief. These discussions can influence attitudes and practices in their countries of origin and contribute to a more progressive understanding of apostasy. In conclusion, apostasy remains a deeply sensitive and controversial issue within Islam. The theological, historical, and social dimensions of apostasy contribute to the complexity of this topic and the reasons why it is rarely discussed openly. However, there are growing efforts within the Muslim world to address apostasy with greater compassion and understanding, emphasizing religious freedom and the right to personal belief. By promoting open dialogue, legal reforms, and a more nuanced interpretation of Islamic teachings, it is possible to create a more inclusive and tolerant environment for individuals who choose to explore their faith. This approach not only respects the diversity of human experience, but also aligns with the core principles of justice and mercy in Islam. 9. Political views and conflicts. The intersection of politics and religion is particularly complex in the context of Islam. Discussions about political views and conflicts involving Muslim-majority countries are often fraught with tension and sensitivity. Islam, as a comprehensive way of life, includes guidelines for governance, justice, and social organization. Historically, the concept of the caliphate was central to the political structure of the Muslim world. The caliph was not only a religious leader, but also a political and military ruler, responsible for implementing sharia, Islamic law. and ensuring the welfare of the Ummah, Muslim community. The Caliphate represented a unified political and religious authority, symbolizing the integration of spiritual and temporal power in Islam. However, the dissolution of the Ottoman Caliphate in 1924 marked a significant turning point in the political landscape of the Muslim world. The absence of a unifying political entity led to the emergence of nation-states, each with its own political systems, ideologies, and governance structures. This fragmentation introduced a diversity of political views and conflicts, often influenced by colonial legacies, national interests, and global geopolitics. The rise of political movements seeking to establish Islamic governance has further complicated the political discourse within Muslim communities. Movements such as the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt, Jamaat-e-Islami in South Asia, and various Salafi jihadi groups advocate for different models of Islamic governance, ranging from democratic participation to militant jihad. These movements are often driven by a desire to restore what they perceive as the lost glory of the Islamic civilization and to address social and economic injustices. Discussing political views and conflicts is challenging within Muslim communities for several reasons. Firstly, political topics are inherently divisive. Different groups and individuals hold varying opinions on the best way to achieve political and social goals, leading to potential conflicts. Debates over political ideologies, strategies, and alliances can create deep divisions within communities, undermining unity and cohesion. Secondly, the politicization of Islam can lead to the exploitation of religious sentiments for political gain. Political leaders and parties may use religious rhetoric to mobilize support, justify policies, or delegitimize opponents. This manipulation can blur the lines between genuine religious beliefs and political agendas, making it difficult to have objective discussions about political issues. Thirdly, the global political context significantly impacts the discourse on political views and conflicts in the Muslim world. The involvement of Western powers in the Middle East and other Muslim majority regions, whether through military interventions, economic sanctions, or diplomatic efforts, is a contentious topic. Many Muslims view these actions as forms of neo-colonialism and interference in their internal affairs, leading to resentment and mistrust. Discussing these issues can evoke strong emotions and a sense of injustice, making it challenging to have balanced and constructive conversations. The Palestinian-Israeli conflict is a prime example of a politically charged issue that elicits strong reactions within Muslim communities. For many Muslims, the plight of the Palestinians represents a broader struggle against oppression and injustice. The conflict is deeply intertwined with religious, historical, and political dimensions, making it a focal point for discussions about Muslim identity, solidarity, and resistance. However, the complexity and sensitivity of the issue often result in polarized views, making it difficult to find common ground or engage in nuanced discussions. Similarly, the political turmoil and conflicts in countries such as Syria, Yemen, Iraq, and Afghanistan have significant implications for Muslim communities worldwide. These conflicts are not only humanitarian crises, but also involve sectarian, ethnic, and geopolitical dimensions. The involvement of regional powers such as Saudi Arabia, Iran, Turkey, and others adds layers of complexity to these conflicts. Discussing these issues within Muslim communities can be contentious, as individuals may have differing perspectives based on their sectarian affiliations, national identities, and political views. Despite these challenges, there are efforts within the Muslim world to promote more constructive and inclusive discussions about political views and conflicts. Interfaith and intrafaith dialogue initiatives aim to foster understanding and cooperation among different groups. These initiatives often emphasize shared values and common goals, such as justice, peace, and human dignity, while acknowledging and respecting differences. Educational programs and public forums also play a crucial role in promoting informed and balanced discussions about political issues. By providing historical context, diverse perspectives, and critical analysis, these programs can help individuals develop a more nuanced understanding of complex political dynamics. Encouraging critical thinking and respectful dialogue can contribute to a more informed and engaged community. The role of media and digital platforms in shaping political discourse is also significant. Social media in particular has become a powerful tool for mobilizing public opinion, raising awareness, and fostering debate. However, it can also amplify misinformation, polarization, and echo chambers. Responsible media practices and digital literacy education are essential to ensure that political discussions are constructive and based on accurate information. In conclusion, political views and conflicts are deeply intertwined with the religious, historical, and social fabric of the Muslim world. While these issues are inherently sensitive and divisive, it is possible to promote more constructive and inclusive discussions through education, dialogue, and responsible media practices. By fostering a more nuanced understanding of political dynamics and encouraging respectful engagement, Muslim communities can navigate the complexities of political discourse and work towards common goals of justice, peace, and human dignity. 10. Interpretations of Sharia law. Sharia, or Islamic law, is a fundamental aspect of Islam that governs various aspects of a Muslim's life, including religious rituals, family relations, business transactions, and criminal justice. The interpretation and application of Sharia are complex and have evolved over centuries, influenced by diverse cultural, historical, and social contexts. Sharia is derived from two primary sources: the Quran, which is considered the Word of God, and the Hadith, which are the sayings and actions of the Prophet Muhammad. Together, these sources provide the foundational principles and guidelines for Islamic law. However, the interpretation of these texts, known as fiqh, Islamic jurisprudence, is a human endeavor that involves reasoning, context, and scholarly debate. Throughout Islamic history, scholars have developed different schools of thought, madhabs, to interpret Sharia. The four major Sunni schools, Hanafi, Maliki, Shafi'i, and Hanbali, represent diverse approaches to Islamic jurisprudence. Each school has its methodologies and principles for interpreting religious texts and applying them to various aspects of life. Similarly, Shia Islam has its own jurisprudential traditions, with the Jafari school being the most prominent among Twelver Shias. The diversity of interpretations within Islamic jurisprudence reflects the adaptability and dynamism of Sharia. Scholars consider the context, societal needs, and practical realities when interpreting and applying Sharia. This adaptability has allowed Islamic law to remain relevant across different regions and historical periods. However, it also means that there can be significant variations in how Sharia is understood and practiced. One reason why discussions about interpretations of Sharia law are often limited to scholarly or private contexts is the complexity and depth of the subject. Islamic jurisprudence requires extensive knowledge of religious texts, legal principles, and historical precedents. Scholars spend years studying these subjects to provide informed and nuanced interpretations. Public discussions without this expertise can lead to misunderstandings and oversimplifications of complex legal and ethical issues. Another reason is the sensitivity of the subject. Sharia is deeply intertwined with the identity and values of Muslim communities. Questioning or debating interpretations of Sharia can be perceived as challenging the core principles of Islam. This sensitivity can make open discussions difficult, as individuals may fear backlash or accusations of heresy or blasphemy. Moreover, the application of Sharia in contemporary contexts can be controversial, particularly in areas related to criminal justice, gender relations, and human rights. In some Muslim-majority countries, strict interpretations of Sharia are enforced by the state, leading to practices such as corporal punishment, mandatory dress codes, and restrictions on women's rights. These practices often attract criticism from human rights organizations and the international community, creating a contentious and polarized discourse. The diversity of interpretations also leads to debates within the Muslim community about the authenticity and legitimacy of different practices. For example, some Muslims advocate for a return to traditional interpretations of Sharia, emphasizing the importance of adhering to classical jurisprudential rulings. Others call for reform and reinterpretation, arguing that contemporary realities and challenges require a more progressive and context-sensitive approach to Islamic law. Efforts to reconcile these differing views often involve dialogue and collaboration among scholars, community leaders, and activists. Reformist scholars advocate for ijtihad, independent reasoning, to reinterpret sharia in ways that address contemporary issues while remaining faithful to the core principles of Islam. They emphasize the importance of maqasid al-sharia, the objectives of sharia, which prioritize justice, welfare, and public interest. Women's rights and gender equality are areas where reinterpretation and reform are particularly significant. Traditional interpretations of sharia have often been used to justify practices that limit women's rights and freedoms. Reformist scholars and activists argue for interpretations that uphold the Quranic principles of equality and justice, challenging patriarchal norms and advocating for greater gender equity in areas such as inheritance, marriage, and legal testimony. The role of education and public awareness is crucial in promoting a more informed and balanced understanding of sharia. By providing accessible resources and platforms for learning, communities can engage with Islamic jurisprudence in a more meaningful and informed manner. Educational initiatives that highlight the diversity of interpretations and the principles of justice and compassion in sharia can help demystify the subject and encourage constructive dialogue. The use of digital media and online platforms also plays a significant role in shaping discussions about sharia. Social media, websites, and online forums provide spaces for scholars, activists, and community members to share perspectives, ask questions, and engage in debates. While these platforms can facilitate greater access to knowledge, they also require careful moderation and critical engagement to prevent the spread of misinformation and extremist views. In conclusion, interpretations of Sharia law are diverse and complex, reflecting the rich tradition of Islamic jurisprudence and the dynamic nature of Islamic law. While discussions about these interpretations are often limited to scholarly or private contexts due to their complexity and sensitivity, there are significant efforts to promote informed and balanced discourse. By emphasizing the principles of justice, welfare, and public interest, and by fostering dialogue and education, it is possible to navigate the complexities of Sharia in contemporary contexts. This approach not only respects the diversity of interpretations within Islam, but also ensures that Islamic law remains relevant and responsive to the needs and challenges of modern Muslim societies.